him, and I recognized as his addiction got worse how powerless he was and how fragile he was. And as I saw him try just about everything and finally find SA, Sexaholics Anonymous, it was like night and day. When he found that particular 12-step program, he became hopeful again.
Okay, Kara, is this part of the recovery process to have someone believe in you and support you, or is it something that these sexaholics have to commit to individually?
Well, it certainly helps, and I just want to thank Sandy and Jean for being willing to come on and share their story. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to do this, and to really be committed to getting the word out, especially around Sexaholics Anonymous, which is a 12-step program
now,
to help with this.
Now, they keep using the term sexaholic as opposed to sex addict.
Right.
Is there a reason for that?
No. Well, sexaholics, the SA people might tell you there is, and there is a lot of discrepancy in the field at large, and in the 12-step communities. There's a number of different 12-step communities that have sprung up, and SA is one of them. There's another one called Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, and some people, but sexaholics define lust as their bottom line, and so they use that term to define themselves.
Now, Sandy, you also define yourself as recovering and not recovered. Can you explain the difference there?
Sure. For me, it's a one-day-at-a-time program. I realize any given day I could, fall into temptation again, and I need to keep that awareness, because in the bottom of my addiction, I was driving through terrible neighborhoods. I was involved with a drug addict half my age, and it's not some place I want to go back to. I want to stay sober one day at a time.
It's not only the behavior that affected you personally, but it also, as you said, impacted your first marriage. And I, as a woman, look at Jean and say, my goodness, she was at risk because of your behavior. Mm-hmm. How do you reconcile that, or how do you move forward knowing that you put loved ones at risk?
Well, the time to do the next right thing is now, and I have to be focused on today. And she's aware of my past, and that I'm working on myself one day at a time. I take calls. She knows where I'm at, and she helps me be aware of myself.
And Jean, I would imagine that probably the biggest struggle for you is that trust issue that many women have to confront when their men have wandered, so to speak. Is this also a one-day-at-a-time recovery for you?
Well, I would say over the years that has changed for me. I am not at the same place I was 15 years ago, or 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago. I've watched my husband grow and change a great deal over the years. And he's...
So you think a couple can survive this?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I really think that the both of us are better people today because of it.
Well, we certainly appreciate your willingness to discuss it. We do understand your need for privacy, but we wish you the best. And Sandy and Jean, thank you so much. Perhaps you will be able to help others who are confronting this situation as well.
Thank you.
Thanks. That's why we're here.
We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll meet another man who fought to break his addiction, and he is now helping others to do the same. We'll also have some warning signs for you if you think a loved one may actually be battling this kind of addiction. Stay with us.
Transportation for It's Your Call guests provided by Preferred Car and Limousine.
So do you believe the theory that Tiger Woods is suffering from an addiction to sex? Do you think that's possible? Well, that's our topic of discussion on this edition of It's Your Call. I'm Lynn Doyle, and we are certainly happy to have you with us. We are very grateful to our guest from the previous segment who spoke to us about trying to overcome such an addiction. Joining us now, also in silhouette, is another man who has battled addictions. His name is JR, and he battled other addictions before realizing that he suffered from a sex addiction as well. He now considers himself a recovered sexaholic, and he helps others by sponsoring them. JR, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Can you give me your impression of what's been happening with Tiger Woods and this assertion by some sexual counselors that he may actually be suffering from a sexual addiction?
Well, in my opinion, it would have to be him himself to really believe that, or either hit a bottom. Whether this was his bottom in his situation, he have to have the final say whether he's a sexaholic or not.
Is that what happened with you? Did you have to hit a rock bottom, so to speak, before you realized what your problem was?
Yes, I had to hit a rock bottom, even though I had a real good job at the government and everything. And I was on the verge of losing it, but I had to hit rock bottom my own self, and even had to catch a few venereal disease before I hit my bottom.
Now, you say that you battled other addictions as well. Is that typical? People who are suffering from a sex addiction also are battling sometimes other addictions or even mental health issues?
Well, I only could talk about my particular case. My sex addiction led me to alcohol and drugs for a period of years. And when I came to AA in 1984 and got sober, and I discovered by reading the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, we got a chapter in there called Chapter 5, and it talks about sexual behavior in that particular chapter. And that's when I discovered that I had this addiction.
Can you describe for our viewers, without going into specific detail, what is involved in a sexual addiction? Is it basically having sex with a lot of different partners? Is it having sex outside the marriage? How would you define your particular case?
My particular case started very young and fantasizing about other women. And also through the fantasy, it came true, and I started acting out through masturbation and looking at pornography. Then next thing I knew, I was going to the prostitute houses and things like that.
And how did that affect your personal life? You talked about your professional life being in jeopardy. Personally, how were you impacted? And how were those who love you impacted?
Well, it was a lot of secrecy, was a lot of guilt, and then my family members wonder, especially when my mother was living, when I was very young, she used to wonder how come I would disappear for days and all that. It was like being a crack addict to me anyway.
You mentioned venereal diseases. I would imagine that sexually transmitted diseases would be perhaps one of the #1 impacts on a sexaholic's family. I mean, you're certainly putting a woman that you're involved with, whether married or otherwise, at risk if this behavior continues.
You're right. I was very fortunate. This year I'll be going on 10 years progressive victory over lust in SA. And I got married after I was 6 years sober. And my wife know everything about me. And she never seen me in none of my behaviors. But by practicing the 12 steps and adopting that in my life, it made me a completely changed man, and plus having a relationship with my higher power, which I choose to call God.
Now,